Hey everyone, this is Mike. So in the last video, we worked on styling the header. So we added a logo, we pushed our links over to the right using Flexbox, lined them up into the center, and added a button for sign in. Right now, they're all connected to either the About page or the Home page. Today, what we're going to do is work on the responsiveness of the header. So whenever we go into a mobile view right now, you can see everything just bunches up and it doesn't look great. So what we're going to do is add a menu button. We're going to move our links into a drop-down drawer, and then we'll have it hide and show when you click the menu button. All right, so let's get started. All right, so I'm going to add a new icon here. So new folder, icons folder. And under here, I'm going to add a component called menu bars.js. And it will be a React component, so I'm going to import React from React. And I'll export menu bars. We probably don't need curly braces. We're just going to return SVG. And so I'm going to paste in my SVG here. So let me get some indentation going. And what I can do is add a group around here and group these paths together. That way I can change the color of these paths. So let me add another indentation layer here. And I'll import a color, call it primary. And then here, what I'll do is I'll add a style with the property fill inside. You can see that I have the view box on here. So it's 16 by 16 pixels, starting at top 0 and left 0. This is just something I put together in Illustrator really quick, drawing 3 bars, rectangles with kind of a radius on the corners. And we'll use this for our menu button. So back in header.js, we are going to add the menu bar down here next to our button. But first we need to import it. So let's import menu bars from common icons menu bars. And so the idea here is when it's in full screen, we're going to show across the top the logo, the links, and the button. And then when you go down to a minimized width, you're going to still see the logo. The links here are going to be hidden until you click the menu button, which we're about to add in here. But you'll still be able to see the sign in button, or if they're signed in, some sort of avatar. And then we'll also see the menu bars button right here. So I want to add a wrapper to my menu bars component. And we'll give this a class name. We'll call it nav menu button. And then we want to wrap some of these, add an extra container here, because these are going to be doing the same thing for the most part, but these will be doing, the nav links will be in kind of a drawer that pulls out when you click this button. And so we want to wrap these in a container so that we can put them on the same row using a flex display. And so I'll call this, I'll give it a class name of nav right. So it'll be on the right side. This will be nav links like currently is. And then up here, we're actually going to wrap a container around all of this except for the brand. So we're going to leave the brand on its own. And come down here. And then I'll indent all of this. And delete this. And this will have a class name of nav container. All right. We still need to add some on-click handlers down here, but first let's style this and get it looking the way we want it to look. So here in nav.js, I need to add a few things. For example, we need to add, let's see, a nav container. So .nav container. And this will be a display flex. All right, and the nav brand can stay the same. I'm just gonna move it over to the left. All right, and nav links will stay the same for now, but we'll need to change this very soon. I'm going to add nav right. So this is the sign in button right now and the menu bars button. And so I want to make those two items display as a flexbox. And then finally, we need to add a nav-menu button. And so this is the SVG we just made. I need to style this. And so what this will do is normally it will not be displayed. So let me do a display of none. And so whenever it's in a desktop mode, we won't see, whenever the width is greater than a certain amount, we won't see it. But I do want to go ahead and give the SVG, let's see, maybe 32 pixels on the width and the height. So here in Chrome, we can see how it looks on a mobile screen. You can see it's still pretty cluttered, so we need to fix that. But if I look at the nav container here, you can see it encapsulates the whole thing. And then we have a wrapper that gives us a margin. We have a logo. We have the nav container, which contains the links and the button. We have nav links right there. That's what we'll put in the drawer, which is the unordered list. Then we have nav right, which is the sign in button in the menu. And then finally right here is the new nav menu. And so, or the nav menu button. And so if I unclick display none, you can see what it looks like. And then I'll put it right back. All right, and so at this point, now we need to introduce media queries. And so what that looks like is how I want to do it is I want the normal to be whenever it's a smaller width, so more mobile friendly. And then I want to put a media breakpoint so that whenever the width is bigger, that's when I alter with a media query. And so most of this, or some of this, will be wrapped in a media query, and then we'll have different values as our default values. And so what this might look like is I have a @media, and I want to say min width because I want to break as it grows. And so here I might put 768 pixels. Then I'll have some curly braces, and maybe on the nav wrapper, if you remember, the margin was pretty thick for mobile. So maybe we want to move this margin in here. So I'll copy that and paste it in here. And whenever it's in a smaller mobile mode, we'll make this wrapper smaller. So this will be 16 pixels. So let's take a look at what this looks like. All right, so here we are back at in Chrome, and we can see we've spread it out quite a bit just by adding the margins or reducing the margins. And so if I take it out of mobile mode, you can see the margins increase, put it in mobile mode, and the margin has decreased. And so I spread it out a little bit. So now what we can do is we can start moving things into a different format using that same technique, adding media queries where needed. All right, and what I want to do before putting these media queries everywhere, I want to change how we're bringing in this min width value. And so right now I would just have this value typed everywhere, and I don't want to mess up and type the wrong number or anything like that. So what I can do is I can make a constants folder for my style. So I'll make a new folder, call it constants. And then under here, I'll make a new file called index.js. And this would look like just an export with some breakpoints in it. So common breakpoints that I'll use. And so I might name it for small, we'll have 576. For medium, that's the one I just used, it'll be 768. Large can be 992. And extra large can be 1200 pixels. All right, and so this way I don't have to remember these numbers, and if I need to change them for any reason, maybe if I test it on a different device and it doesn't quite look right, I can modify this and it'll modify it everywhere rather than me having to go through and search for all the places I used it. So back in nav.js, I need to import this now. And so just the same way, I'll import breakpoints from constants. And since it's index.js, I don't have to type out index.js, it assumes already. And then right here in our first media query right here, what I can do instead of 768, I can do a $sign to enter some JavaScript and say breakpoints.md. There we go. All right. So now what I want to do here is I can now start adding breakpoints to each of my different class names. And so I might add one to the div container. And so maybe this would look like I would do for probably always display flex, whether it's small or big. But maybe if it's big, I want to do a flex direction of row. Let's see, flex direction row. And if it's small, we want to do a flex direction of column. And so that'll stack them whenever it's small and spread them out when it's big. And you can see here what happened. So here we've got them stacked now, and so the sign in button is below our links. We don't want that, so maybe we can reverse this. And then we want to push it over, I'll probably use the right side for this, so we'll push it over to the right side. All right, so here in nav.js, I'm going to change this from column to column reverse, and that way the button in the menu will be on top of the links. And then I want to align the items so that they are at the end rather than centered. And then I need to set that back to centered over on this side, and whenever it's in the wide format, medium or above. And then the last thing I wanted to add is I want to push it over to the right side, so I need to add a margin left of auto. All right, next we need to take care of the list, the links list. And right now they're still side by side and I want to stack them. I don't want this nav links to be auto anymore, margin left auto, because I have it here with all of them in the bigger container. So let's get rid of that. I do want it to take up as much room as it can inside the list, and so I'll put a 100% here, and the flex direction when it's in mobile mode will be stacked again. So we'll do column, and I'll leave it column normal instead of reverse because that's probably a good order. And then line height, I'm going to make 2. Margin bottom, I'm going to add some space because it's stacked now. I don't want them right on top of each other, so I'll just do one like 16 pixels there. And then I want them aligned to the right as well. So let me do align items flex end here as well. And now we can add a media break so that when it is larger, we can do a display of flex is already there, but flex direction we want row. And put the margin bottom back to 0. And then here in the list, I only want that margin right if it is in flex row condition. So whenever it's big, I'll add a margin to the right. If it's small, it'll just be nothing. All right, and finally down here, we want the menu button. Right now it's displayed as none, but we only want that whenever it's big. So let me wrap that in my media query. And then what we'll do for normal or for mobile, we will display block, and I'll give it a margin on the left so it's spaced out a little bit, maybe 1.5 rem. So all right, so here we still have a little bit of a hot mess. We need to remove this centering, and we probably need to align this in the middle. The button looks fine, I think, and then the menu system looks good as well, and everything seems to be working okay. I'd like for those links to be a little bit bigger, so I'll take a look at that too. So back here in nav.js, I'm going to remove align items to center because that should pull that logo up a little bit. Then if we come down here to this SVG, maybe I can say vertical align middle, and I might need to do that to the logo as well. We'll see. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that to the logo as well. So here we'll do SVG. I guess I could wrap this whole thing right here, SVG, like that, just so I'm a little bit more consistent here. And let's go ahead and open up the hitbox on those links a little bit. So I can do that by changing the anchor tag to have a display of block and a text align of right so that they're pushed over to the right side. And the other thing I want to change is I want to make that sign in button just a little wider. So let's do a min width of 150 and see how that looks. All right, so I think this looks okay. We have the sign in button, we have the links down here, and they're pretty tall, so I think they're very hittable. And then if I open it up into full width, then the links line up here, and our menu button disappears, and our sign in button looks good. So now what we need to do is make this menu button actually function. So we're going to add some JavaScript and clickHandlers into our component, into our header component, and get that working. All right, back here in header.js, what we want to do is we want to use state in order to keep track of whether we should show or hide the menu button. So I'm going to add useState here. And then inside the header, we can define a constant show menu. So I'll do a constant and then show menu. And then here is our set show menu. So we use set show menu to change the state, and then show menu will keep track of if we want to show the menu or not. So useState, and our initial value will be false. We want it hidden initially. And then I need a couple of click handlers. So one will be a toggle. So we'll toggle menu. And what this will look like is just I use set show menu to change the state. And I want it to be the opposite of what show menu is currently. So I'll do not show menu. And then the other one, I need the menu to hide when you click some other things, not the menu button. So any menu item or whenever you change pages in some way, I'll need to hide the menu. So hide menu. And this is just going to set, similar to this, but instead of toggling the menu, I just want to set it to false. All right, so now let's tie those functions to our buttons down here. And so we'll have an on click. And this is the menu button, so we want to toggle the menu. And then on the links, we also do an on click, and here we can hide the menu. So I'll just do hide menu, and then let me copy this to the add post link, and I'll do it to the brand too, so that if you click the brand, it hides the menu because we'll be going to the home page. So now that we have our functions, toggle menu and hide menu, and we have them tied to the different elements on our page, I need to actually implement it. And so I'm going to use a class to do that. And so I either want this class to be show or nothing. So if I need to see the menu, it should show. Otherwise, it shouldn't be there at all. And so I can use JavaScript to do that and use the show menu state with a little ternary statement. So if show menu is true, then I want this to say show. And if it's false, I want it to say nothing. All right. So when I click on it, it'll toggle show menu and it will become true. And so show will appear in this class name. And then whenever I click it again, show will be removed from this class name. And then I'll use show in my nav.js in order to hide and show this menu. All right, so we're back in nav.js, and I need to add to the unordered list, I want to add and not and I need in here the .show class. So if it's not show, then I want to display none. So I want to hide this unordered list. So there's one more thing I need to do here, and that is in large mode, medium and above, I need to make sure that the menu is always shown. And so I can do that by adding a display of flex. And that's what it is typically, but I want to add a important tag here so that it's always shown. And so it's not going to look at this not here. So it doesn't matter if show is on the class or not, it will always show flex. All right, so back on the web page, I have the menu is hidden by default. And then whenever I click the menu button, I get the menu. Whenever I click on one of these, the menu hides, and I go to the new page. And if I click the logo, it hides. So it's working really well. And then if I go to full screen, you can see that there's no menu bar. I can't toggle these, and it still works correctly. There's one more thing we need to implement before we call it done, and that is What if the user drops the menu but then clicks down here? And I want that menu to hide in case the user drops the menu but then decides to stay on the page. And so they click on the page, I want it to disappear from up here. So let's take care of that. All right, I'm back in nav.js, and in order for the user to have a clickable area to hide the menu again, if they click off of the menu, what I need is some sort of cover. So I'm going to export a new div called nav cover. So it'll be a styled div. And then the position will be absolute. Top 0, left 0. I just want to cover, blanket the whole screen here. So height will be 100%. Same with the width. And then I want the background color to be invisible, but just have a slightly clickable color here. So I'll do all zeros and then a 0.1 for the alpha. Then back in header.js, we need to add this to our header. So this can fit right between the nav bumper and the nav. We want a nav cover, but we only want it when the menu is open. So we can use show menu again to hide and show the nav cover. So show menu, and then we'll do 2 ands, and then let's close this. And so what this says is if show menu is true, then show nav cover, otherwise hide nav cover. And I need to add it to our imports. So up here, let me just copy, right here, I'll just add it right in here. And finally, I need to add a click event here. So on click, we're going to hide the menu. And finally, back here in the app, let's take a look. So we show the menu, and you can see it darkens, and so it kind of tells the user that we're in the menu section now. If you click down here, it disappears, and our links also still work. So everything seems to be working. So that's our wrap for today. Next time what we'll do is we will start adding pages. So add post is the next page we'll add, and make that work. All right, I'll see you next time.